Well, hello and welcome to the latest. And today is the appreciation episode of the Ultimate Wellness Group Transformation Tuesday. I must first say that last week's audio problem was my fault. I made a mistake in setting things up. So, of course, when we make a mistake, we come in public and we admit our mistake. So I pray this week that the sound is much better and that we can hear and have a good show. So in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, all praise is due to Allah. We, of course, thank him for coming in the person of Master Farad Muhammad and taught one from among us who produced that monumental book, that being the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And, of course, the two of them have not left us alone, but left us with a reminder and a guide in a dark time. Minister Louis Farrakhan, in their names, I greet you in the words of peace of Assalamu alaikum. I thank you all for taking a little bit of your time on your Tuesday to spend some time with the Ultimate Wellness Group, where today the subject matter is how to take care of your kidneys or kidney health. Some things that you should take in consideration, because as I'm sure most of you see in your communities, when you drive around, you see Black communities or just most of the places that people live, there are many, many dialysis centers popping up, and they have been over the last probably 10 to 15 years. And most of the people that are making dialysis centers a successful business are dark-skinned people. So we're going to talk about some things that you can do to protect your kidneys. Electronics. Thank you, my brother. Wa alaikum salam. I appreciate you. And please, everybody, let me know if the sound and video is pretty good today. I think I worked the kinks out. The other explanation for today's show is that my wife and I, of course, we're starting probably early August to do show, what do you call it? We're kind of like asking you all, what do you think about the show and getting your feedback? And we're going to get back into that. But today's show was because there were a few people that were asking about kidney health. And so that's why I said today is Appreciation, the Ultimate Wellness Group Transformation Tuesday, Appreciation Day, because I appreciate those who continue to support, continue to come back, those who come back to the shows and also support me away from the show. It's appreciation. I thank you all, and I'm always trying to show my gratitude by continuing to do things that help benefit us and improve our health. So without any further delay, I'm going to give just a couple of shout outs for some of the supporters of the program. Number one being the place where I'm actually doing the show. So if you all can see this on your screen, you see the Man's Law Office Atonement and Dispute Resolution Center. Contact number is 713-589-6404. If you have any conflict problems in your life, it could be divorce, it could be an argument in a family, two people haven't gotten along for years, it could be something that's going on in the street, anything that people may need to come and sit down and have an arbiter to help them get to a resolution so that we can either decrease problems or decrease violence or whatever it is that we're trying to decrease. If there is a need for that type of service, that's what this place is that I do my show. They allow me to do my show here. So I just give a thanks to them. The other quick shout out before we get directly into the show is going to be for Extronics Computer Service. All of my audio-visual equipment and all my audio-visual ability to set up and do my shows the way I do was, of course, instituted by my friend Darnell Muhammad. And, of course, my audio-visual problem from last week was improved because of his help. So if you have any computer audio-visual needs, reach out to him. He does an excellent job. So real quick before I jump into the kidneys, I wanted to just talk a little more about this process that I'm going through since the loss of my daughter. I want to be very intentional in giving you all information as I am going along this journey and improving and healing. And my wife and I actually got back into Houston last night, probably about 8 o'clock. And I was on a conference call at about 7:30. And of course, I'm on this conference call. I'm concentrating on what it is that I need to talk about and interacting with the people that are on this Zoom call. And I lost track of paying attention, being intentional, and being aware of my wife. This is the first time since the loss of our daughter that we actually have been back to the house permanently. We came back to the house. We've only been to the house 2 times since her death because of, getting some clothes or getting this or getting that, getting prepared to travel, whatever we were doing. But last night was the first night where we were going to actually stay there. And, I made a mistake. I lacked in my duty in being intentional and paying attention to her and being there for her. It actually took the signal to drop. And then I looked at her and I saw that she was struggling. And I said, oh, my goodness, I'm not going to try to get back on this call. I got to attend to her. But it was too late at that point. I should have done this a while back. I should have had that on my mind. And that's, one of the things that I have said in before is that we have to be intentional. We have to be aware, and we have to be prioritize our loved ones, prioritize the people that are in our environment, because that's what it takes to help each other heal. That's what it would have taken for me to help her through that situation last night, rather than allowing her to struggle as we got closer to the house and all the things that were going on in her mind. So I just wanted to mention that, my failures, I'm not too egotistical to admit my failures in public, because whoever can grow from it. And if, these small parts where I talk about my process can help somebody else through their grief, somebody else through their difficult times, then, that's part of what I believe God has blessed me to be and what he blessed me to do. One of the gifts that he's given me is to allow myself to be an open book, to be a blueprint, maybe for some negative things not to do and maybe some things to do. And so the other last thing about that point, about grief, about mourning, about bereavement, that I wanted to discuss is that inner voice. We all have it. Some people call it women's intuition, right? And women do have an intuition, but men have an intuition too. We all have an intuition. It's just that we just don't pay attention to it. And I am working on making sure that I listen to it more intently, because sometimes it can be as little as get to an intersection or get to a V in the highway that you're traveling, and you go right or left. And so your inner voice, which is really a connection to the greater God, your God connected to the greater God, tells you to go left, and you second guess it and you go right, you run into a traffic jam that takes you an hour to get out of. Whereas if you had gone left, everything would have been clear. And then, of course, it can be more serious than that. I have in my life had that happen where I went a different direction, wound up in an automobile accident. I've talked to other people that have had major situations happen in their life because of just small decisions like that. And even some more serious situations, like I think I mentioned before, like some women that have confided in me, that have been molested, that have been raped, that have been in very potentially life-threatening situations. They got that sense, they got that information, and they didn't pay attention, or they removed it as I'm just being paranoid. No, you're not being paranoid. You're not being crazy. You are being in tune with yourself. And we have to pay more attention to that and become more firm in those messages that we're getting. Because sometimes it can save your life, but sometimes it could just be the best decision that you ever made because of how you can affect somebody else's life. And so those were just a couple of things that I wanted to mention because those were things that, occurred within the last couple of days. I just came back from California. So just two last quick stories, and then we'll get into the kidneys. But I went to San Diego. I live in Riverside, and San Diego is probably about an hour and a half away from where I grew up. And I went to visit a friend who has been in the hospital since early August because of this infection, the COVID infection. And he was so sick, they had to life flight him from a place called Brawley, California to San Diego, California. Long story short, we went to try to see him last week because it doesn't look good. It looks like, he's been he's been intubated since early August. And you all have heard me say that the longer you are intubated, the less likely you're going to be able to be successful. And so, I just wanted to go see him, wanted to go see if we could get into the hospital, wanted to see if there was some way that we could give him some inspiration, touch him, pray over him, talk to him, whisper in his ear, talk in his ear, whatever we could do to try to, enliven his spirit to fight and whatever chance is possible, maybe he could get up out of that bed. But we weren't even able to get anywhere close to the even floor that he was on. And the final statement that I had with his nurse, the nurse told me that the only possibility of seeing, because I told him he was my brother, the only possibility of us seeing our family members was if we decided with the doctors that we were going to end support. So in essence, they were saying that if we were going to pull the plug and allow him to die, that's the only way you'll be able to see your loved one. So it reminded me of the minister's Criterion lecture from July the 4th, when he talked about the people that are dying in the hospitals by themselves and the people that are going through these difficult processes and they have no family. How horrible is that to live your last few breaths, last few hours, last few days, if that is the case, by yourself, lonesome, isolated. It's got to be painful. And so I just wanted to mention that because, I am absolutely sure that the best thing for you to do is to take care of yourself as best you can and to work on your system as best you can so that you do not try to, try to best to prevent yourself from catching this infection. And even if you do wind up being weak enough to get the infection, work on your body best enough to not wind up in the hospital, because it's really not a place that anybody wants to be in these days and times. It wasn't a place to be before this, but it's definitely worse now. And I believe, as I've been saying for years, you can go back and listen to my shows from years and years and years ago, I said that martial law in this country was going to start in the medical community. And there's no question that, to me, that's what's happening in these hospitals. They are unchecked. They are fully able to do what it is that they want or don't want to do. I mean, because think about that. If somebody tells me on the phone that the only way you can talk to your family member is if you decide to end their life, then what kind of care do you believe that they could be getting? If you were in that bed, what kind of care would you be getting if those people have that type of perspective of you and for you and really should be against you? So I just wanted to mention that, brothers and sisters that have any confidence in me, please go listen to my coronavirus programs and work on your immune system every day. That's your best chance, by working on your immune system and trusting in the God that you serve, that he's given you what it takes to make it through these times. And then lastly, another experience I had with my mother while I was in California. My mother was having some shoulder pain, And I had done an exam on her before and actually did an exam on her that day. And, I mean, she probably has some arthritis in her shoulder, but couldn't find anything else. And so I was just kind of trying to check everything and make sure that I wasn't missing anything. And I found a lymph node probably about that big in the bottom part of her axilla, which is, the underarm period. And I'll be honest with you, when I did the exam and felt that lymph node, I immediately went to the worst case scenario, which for me would be breast cancer. My mind went there and I had to calm myself down. I had to bring myself back to a place of comfort so that she wouldn't feel, my negative energy. But, immediately called the people the next day to make sure she could get the correct type of test. Didn't like what I heard from the doctor. I was like, that's a waste of time. So I went through, another perspective to try to get her seen so that we could get her the appropriate test. But I was just thinking to myself about how many people don't have my knowledge, my wisdom, don't have my experience, and wouldn't have known anything different than what the doctor suggested. And if it's a serious perspective that's going on with my mom, and I would have accepted their advice, the advice that I got when I first was on the phone, it would have been much, much longer before a serious condition would have been found out. So, I mean, this is just a money-oriented system that's after the bag, and you're the for lack of a better term, you are the collateral damage. You're just the merchandise for these hospitals and these hospital systems to make much money. And so, I pray that everybody continues to do what it takes to prevent medical problems. And again, today, that's what we're talking about, preventing kidney disease, so that you don't wind up in a system that treats you like, well, how much money can we get out there insurance? How much money can we get? How many visits can we get before this person winds up in the dirt? Because that's their perspective. And it may sound callous as hell. Well, that's what you're getting when you're going into these medical systems. I'm talking about these HMO systems, these big hospital systems that are all over the country. They could give a damn about you, because if you didn't have any insurance, you wouldn't be able to stay up in there anyway. That proves it to some degree. And so we have to be very careful going up in these places thinking that these people care about us. We just finished going over medical apartheid, which we're still reading, but we shouldn't trust these systems. We shouldn't trust these doctors. We shouldn't trust anything that these people put out here. You got medications, and this medication specifically for Black people. You'd be crazy to trust that. No. And as I said last week, trusting these trials, and they want more and more Black people to go in these trials. There's going to be more and more death, more and more maiming of life, more and more serious problems coming from these vaccines. And I'm not the type of person that's going to sit around and say, I told you so, but I'm trying to help us prevent winding up in these problems. So 2 things. The first one is, as bad as the thoughts were in my head about my mother, I had a conversation with her, my brother, my sister, my brother's wife, and my wife about what our desire was if we ever wound up with cancer. And my mother's statement was, no, I don't think I want it. And I was happy to hear that, because for everybody that hears me say that I wouldn't take chemotherapy or radiation if I got cancer tomorrow, it was the same thought with my mother. I wouldn't want her. It doesn't make a difference how much I see her suffer or what the process is. I would rather her do something natural, diet, herbs, improve your thinking, getting away from a lot of negative things, getting away from environmental pollutants, than I would want her to go to a hospital and get some pollutants put in her called chemotherapy or radiation. So it was pleasing to me to hear her say that, but it was also pleasing to me that I believe what I believe 100%. So if I would go a natural route for my mother, then when I say that to you, it's honest and it's true, because I would do the same thing for myself. Not to pat me on the back. It's just a confirmation that I got, because, as I was thinking about my mother and the potential of where we're going, I'm not going to change the path that I'm on. I'm not going to change the path that I think, change the path of where I am going in my own journey. And so it was just kind of confirming, and I was pleased to get that confirmation from God is what I really believe it was. And then lastly, I just want to say about medical apartheid. You don't see it up there today, but next week's program is going to be all about medical apartheid. So if you're behind in reading, just go ahead and catch up. Or if you didn't get a chance to finish the book, it doesn't matter. We're going to have a conversation about medical apartheid next week. And we're going to decide what is going to be our next book that we're going to read. Okay, so I'm going to give a couple of suggestions before the end of the program. But then next week, I would like for you all to vote, send some suggestions of what you think we should read. But we're going to continue this book club that was inspired by Erica Perez. Lynn Ali, thank you for coming in. Wa alaikum salam to you as well. It's probably being in tune, your God voice guidance. Absolutely. Absolutely. We all have to trust that, right? We have to learn how to trust that more. So let's get into the show. Okay. The show is about kidneys today, my brothers and sisters. And so we must understand a few things about the kidney. Firstly, where they are, right? I'm sure some of you have heard, just like I have heard over my lifetime, that I drink too much soda and my kidneys hurt, especially when I wake up in the morning. I got this pain in my lower back because my kidneys hurt. Well, I just want to make sure that you all understand. I'm just going to stand up for a minute and show you that. A lot of times when people say that, they point to their lower back, like down here, right above their butt, and they say, my kidneys hurt. Well, your kidneys aren't down there. Your kidneys are up here. They are covered and protected by your ribs. So when you have pain down here, that's a whole different thing. But I just wanted to show that because as you can see here on this picture, you see that the kidneys are further up. They're not low like a lot of people think they are. They're up. If you can put your hand on your back and you feel your ribs in your back, your kidneys are protected by those ribs. So there's not low in your back like a lot of people believe. Okay, so that's the first thing that I wanted to show was just that where the kidneys specifically are, right? And then secondly, we have to know when it comes to how to take care of ourselves properly, we really need to know what is the purpose of this organ. So just briefly, the purpose of the organ, the kidney, is as a blood cleanser. So it is taking things out of the blood, first of all, as I've discussed before, to maintain the pH of the body. That's one of its main functions. The other main function of it is to release waste products into the toilet as urine, right? Now, I just wanted to briefly clarify something because a lot of people believe that when they ingest certain things or certain poisons get in the body, that it's going to directly affect the kidneys. Maybe to a minor degree, but the major organ in the human body that takes care of all of the poisons and things that we wind up getting in the body is the liver. And the liver alters things and then puts it back into the blood to go to the kidney so that the kidney can take out the water soluble things. So the kidney is responsible for anything water soluble that's going to come out in the urine. Things that are not water soluble, they're not going to travel through the kidney to get eliminated. That's going to happen in your feces or in your lymph system. And so I just wanted to clarify that because the main organ of the body that really inundates itself with all the chemicals and the toxins that we expose ourselves to would be the liver first. The kidney does that to a secondary degree. So I hope this is making sense to everybody. So let's look at a little, wanted this one. Let me know if you all can see this picture of the kidney. You see there on the left, you see a little anatomy. And so this is just kind of the shell of the kidney, right? We call that the cortex. No, I'm sorry, not the cortex, but the, I can't think of the name right now. But anyway, that's just the outer protective mechanism. There's not a whole lot of functioning going on out there. But this is where all your functioning is going in. And those little areas right there that look like little round circles in there, right? You see in there, it's all the blood flow. that's going on in there. And then over to the right of this, you see the more specifics of the functioning of what's happening in your kidney. So you look at this, red is the blood flow coming in. So that's the artery bringing blood flow in. This right here is called your Bowman's capsule. I'm sorry. It's the mains. I said I was going to stop using these arrogant people's names that put their names on things that God produced. So I'm not going to say the person's name, but this is basically like the functioning section of the kidney. It's a little section that is doing all the work of getting the pH right and releasing and pulling in to make sure that everything is getting released that needs to be urinated out, and everything that needs to be kept is kept. That's what's happening in this system right here. And then you see as the red blood vessels go down around these yellow tubes, which is where the urine is being produced. And then you see the blood goes over towards the blue part, which is being sent back out into the venous system. So we have a very intricate, extremely, I would say, it's like a minuscule, a very small minutia. Nothing gets past the kidney. It's doing a work on an every elemental perspective. So all the hydrogen items and the chloride items and the sodium and the potassium and the selenium and the zinc and all the things that are water soluble, all the B vitamins. So your B vitamins, your C vitamins, that's all being eliminated out of the kidney, and it's all being checked. So, a few programs ago, when we were talking about the immune system, and we're talking about the immune system kind of being like the security guard of the body. But each organ in its specific job that it does, it's like a security guard for that specific job that it has. So your kidneys are like a security guard to the blood to make sure whatever's going in to the kidney is being evaluated, taken care of. What needs to be gotten rid of, it gets rid of, and what needs to be kept, it would be kept. It would be like being a police on the side of the road of a highway. But rather than just one police, like, I was driving to Houston today from Winnie, and there was like a police officer here, and then a few miles down the road, there's another one there. So just imagine that rather than just one every once in a while, you were driving somewhere and you had police lined up the whole way, right? It'd be a lot less likelihood that people would be speeding, right? It'd be a lot less likelihood that people would be acting crazy if you had a police officer every single step of the way. I mean, no gaps in between. Just one police behind, one police, right? So everything that they see that's going wrong, whoop, pull you over, right? That's the way the body works. That's the way the kidney is sitting there looking at the blood flow. Oh, pull that out. Okay, we need this to balance us. Oh, that's no good. Pull that out. So everything that's coming through the kidney is being evaluated like that. It's very specific in how these kidneys work. And this system is very, very pliable. And when I say pliable, I'm talking about being very soft. Okay. Some of you probably in your lifetime have had a chicken, right? You buy a whole fresh chicken, your mama or your daddy, grandma, auntie, uncle, somebody pulled that little bag of gizzards out, right? Gizzards just mean the organs of the animal. But the ones that were the kidneys were always really soft. If you grabbed them and you touched them, they could like fall apart in your finger. If they're cooked, you touch them and they kind of fall apart. That's the way the kidney is. So when we're looking at this system and we're looking at the way that this works, we're really looking at something that is extremely soft, extremely pliable, extremely easy to cause some damage to. And so there again is the nephron. So you have in one kidney, you could have millions of nephrons. And so some of you go to the doctor, they do a test and they give you your report back and it says creatinine. And then it says BUN. BUN stands for blood urea nitrogen, which is a waste product. When we use our muscles, when we use our brain, when we have any type of activity, there's a byproduct. There's a waste product, just no different than driving down the street. You drive behind one of these big trucks, or you drive behind one of these guys that have a diesel truck and they mash the gas and all this smoke comes out. The body is the same way. When it does work, there's a waste product. And so the kidney, being an organ that is a waste product producer, because we're producing urine, which means that we're getting rid of waste, it has the ability to be measured by how it filters, right? So to make it make very logical sense, let's think about having a sifter in your kitchen, right? You put something in there because you want the water to come out, or you want to get the, like some people that are cooking, when they sift the flour, they want the smaller pieces to go through, but they don't want the thick pieces. I forget what that other piece is called, but you're trying to sift something smaller and keep something bigger. And so that's the same way we check the kidney to see how they're working, right? So if I have a sifter and I say it's not going to let a navy bean fall through, but it'll let the dirt come through, it'll let, whatever little things that maybe grass or whatever like that, that's in how we picked our navy beans, and that all come through. And then when you finish, you got a nice, clean little bowl of navy beans that you can throw in your pot and cook. Where in the kidneys, the thing that we use to show that that thing is flowing correctly is creatinine. Creatinine is a waste product of muscle use. And so when it flows through the kidney, normally it's able to go right out with no problem. As the kidney gets to a point where it cannot function correctly because it's slowly going in the wrong direction because of the things that we're doing, then creatinine starts to go up. And so some of you have gone to a doctor and they say, hey, your creatinine is pretty high. We got to be careful. Your kidney function could be getting bad. So we're going to have to do this. I'll put you on this medicine. You don't need medicine. You need to understand what's causing the problem so we can try to solve the problem before it's too late. So creatinine, as it goes up, would be like that sifter that you have in the kitchen getting dirty over time. Let's say like there was some oil or something and it starts getting thick and the holes, just some of the basics. So as your ability of your kidney starts to decrease because the ability to sift is not better, what starts to happen to your BUN, the blood urea nitrogen, which is a byproduct of use in the body from all different aspects. Blood urea nitrogen is a byproduct. Ammonia is another aspect of it. That comes from the liver, but those are examples from the liver and the kidney. Ammonia from the liver, BUN, blood urea nitrogen from the kidney, are two examples. When they start to rise, those are examples that the organs aren't doing their job well. And we're starting to hold on to waste products. And what will these waste products do when they maintain in the body? They decrease your level of functioning. Mostly with blood urea nitrogen and ammonia, they start causing problems with your thinking, with your ability to continue to have your memory right, or just day-to-day functioning. It starts to decrease. And so these are the things that we're measuring when you go to the doctor. Now, some of you see on your little reports, it says estimated GFR, glomerular filtration rate. So what we're looking at right here is a nephron. That little thing that I showed you that's very important, that's just glomerulus. And so that ability to have so much blood come through it in a period of time and how much it extracts and produces urine over that period of time is your glomerular filtration rate. And so you notice sometimes it'll say estimated glomerular filtration rate for African Americans. And then there's a different line down there, which is for other people. So again, those are the type of things that I don't trust because I don't trust this system. And so I am convinced that we have to use other logics to make sure that we're personally, me as a physician, am giving the right type of information to a person. When you look at your creatinine, when you look at your BUN, that's what I'm going to always use. And there are industry standards. I'm not going to get into them because I don't hold myself to those industry standards. But I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm saying that there are standards in this industry where as your creatinine and your BUN start going, mostly creatinine is what they use. But as your creatinine goes up, your BUN is going to go up. But when they measure creatinine, they say you're in a certain level. They say you have chronic kidney disease, CKD, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4. And then, of course, you're expected to go into dialysis if you don't solve that problem. Why am I mentioning that? Because of every other medical problem or every other organ that I discuss, I have had my own experience with this wonderful book. In this wonderful book, I've told you all before that I was blown away when I first read it, because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad writes in this book in the first 30 pages that diabetes can be cured without medication. How can this man make a statement like that when I just finished going to school all these years and I don't know how to take care of diabetes other than with medication? I try to work with people with their eating habits, but it never worked, either because they don't do right or maybe because the information wasn't good enough. But my point is that was major life-altering, practice-altering information at that time. Another statement he makes: chronic diseases can be solved over a period of months or years. What? And then, of course, fasting is a cure for 90% of our ills. So I'm saying that because every time I talk about something and we get into the negative, I always want to make sure that you have some positive. I have seen people with creatinines of 5, 6, bring them back down to 2, bring them back down to 3. And so it's always something that you should keep in your mind, that a actual measurement is never the evaluation that is most important. The most important evaluation is what is happening in your body on a day-to-day basis. And so if you are the type of person that's in chronic kidney disease right now today, and your creatinine is 4 or 5 or whatever it is, it doesn't make a difference. If you start doing the things that I'm getting ready to discuss, then the likelihood is that you can improve it. And so if you're at 6 now, and your creatinine is high, your BUN is high, and they're telling you about getting on dialysis, but you start doing some things differently and you bring it down to a 2.5, 2.5 is not going to be considered normal. But if you can keep your black self or your brown self or your whoever self off of dialysis, then you should be happy about that. Don't worry about getting yourself back down to 0.7 or to a 1, because it might not be possible. There's damage that's done to these. As I was saying before, let me just go back to the picture because I just want to make this point absolutely clear, that if you have millions of these in your kidney, which you do, what happens if you destroy 200,000 of them? And so just for math's sake, let's say we have 1 million nephrons in your kidney. Excuse me. You destroy 250,000 of them and your creatinine is at 3.5. If you do some things to help your kidney function better, if you do some things to stop causing damage to your kidney, and 150,000 of those messed up nephrons heal themselves and start working correctly, but you still have 100,000 that don't work for the rest of your life, it's okay. You got 900,000 that are doing the job. And we're only talking about one kidney. Let's say we're talking about your right kidney, right? Your left kidney's still working. So my point is, don't get yourself caught up into being negative. Oh, they told me I'm going to be on dialysis. Well, keep thinking that way. That's where you'll be. But if you start talking yourself in a different direction, then maybe you'll have something different as a reality. I'm working with somebody since the show that I mentioned that I needed somebody to work with to try to get them off of dialysis. I've been working with a young lady, and she's doing an excellent job. She has already made some progress, and we can see it in some of the things that's happening with her and some of the things that's happening in her blood work. She's going to continue working hard, and I believe she's going to be able to come on this show one day and let people know that are on dialysis that you do have hope. Now, let me not paint a picture that's rosy and ethereal and fantastic and not real, because there's a potential that if your kidneys are bad enough, you won't be able to fix them. So I'm not trying to sit here and paint a rosy picture. I'm saying that those of you who are in chronic kidney disease, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, those of you who are just getting on dialysis or just got on dialysis 6 months ago, a year ago, you may be able to reverse that depending on how hard you're willing to work. And we're going to get into some of those in a minute. Damon Washington and Laroya Muhammad, wa alaikum salam to you both, and thank you for coming in. But it's about thinking positively. It's about having the good thoughts, which the Honorable Elijah Muhammad mentions in his book. It doesn't make a difference if you eat all the right food, do all the right things. If your thoughts aren't correct, the body's not going to respond. So let's keep those positive thoughts and get into what it is that we can do on a daily basis to help our kidneys stay functioning correctly. And before I get there, I want to say that I'm only getting a few messages, and it only looks like YouTube. So if anybody on Facebook is watching, let me know. Send me a message and let me know it is. Let me know that it is presenting on Facebook. Okay, like I said, y'all, I'm having a lot of difficulties with my sites. Be patient with me. I'm working on it. So if you are listening to the show, please, share it with as many people as you can and let them know that they're going to have to go to my personal page and my YouTube page to see my programs until I get everything fixed. Those of you who are here, thank you very much for continuing the support. Okay, so let's go to what are the things that we can do to make sure that our kidney function stays positive. Before I even get into what they say, because I'm going to talk about each one of those things, you have to get some of this in your life. Throat was a little dry, so I had to do that. But look, when you go to an urgent care center, an emergency room, a hospital floor, you always see people with an IV line hanging, dripping water into their vein. That fluid that is coming in them is usually sodium chloride. Not usually, most of the time, sodium chloride. Sometimes there may be something else in there depending on what their problem is. But the reason that we do that is because the number one cause of kidney problems in hospitals is dehydration. So you're in the hospital and we're, working on you, extracting blood out you to do this test and that test. And that person could be potentially become more and more dehydrated than they were when they got there. And so the purpose of that is to keep enough fluid in the bloodstream to make sure that that kidney doesn't get dehydrated, because one of the fastest ways that you can destroy that nephron that I just showed you is through dehydration. So we have to understand the difference between hydration and drinking water, but we got to do them both to make sure our body is well moisturized on the inside, right? That's the point. So let's get to these. I pray you can see it. See there, it says overusing painkillers. And the painkillers that they're talking about are not this opioid craze that's going on with all of these, people around the country. We're talking about non-steroidal anti-inflammatories. We're talking about your naproxen and your Motrin and your naproxen and your Advil. Those are the medications that this is talking about, the overusing painkillers. Those medications directly affect your nephrons, will inflame them, sometimes just destroy them altogether. And so again, typically we can say that a person can put their fist up and that's approximately the size of your kidney. It's usually going to be approximately the size of your fist balled up. And so when you look at your fist balled up and you say, I have arthritis and I have to take this because I can't function without it. Well, we've had a show on arthritis. You can improve that as well. and get off of the pain medication. So I'm just saying that for those of you who may be taking it and think that you need it, or not think that you need it, but actually do need it, you are damaging your kidneys. That doesn't mean that you're going to eventually get yourself to a place where you're going to be in trouble, because most people that are at the place of needing dialysis, they've done multiple things wrong for many, many, many years. If you're doing a lot of things right and you just have arthritis and you take pain medication on a pretty frequent basis, you are doing some damage, but it doesn't mean that you're going to wind up in problems. It's all about balance, right? But some people can take non-steroidal anti-inflammatory medications for a few years and their kidneys are shot, because everybody's different. But it's those type of medications that really, really are difficult on the kidney. So if you take those and you don't know what to do, reach out to me. We can work on that. Second, here you see abusing the salt shaker. And let's be very clear. I use salt every day when I eat. So using a salt shaker is not the problem. Using a salt shaker with the wrong type of salt is the problem. Because when you put sodium, chloride, and iodine, just 3 nutrients from a periodic table of 118 elements, if you only put 3 in your body is off balance. And so when you're only putting salt and chloride, which is what's mostly in those bags in the hospital, your body is being put out of balance and not into balance. So yes, please get away from those salt shakers, which pulls a lot of water into the tissues, meaning that it's taking it out of the bloodstream, which meaning there's less blood flow to go to the kidney, which, as I just finished saying, when you dry out the kidney, you start to kill nephrons. Okay. So put some sea salt in your life and get rid of that fake salt, that bleached white salt that you have in your house. Here's another one: eating processed foods. If you go to the grocery store and you spend most of your time up and down those aisles, buying stuff that somebody else made, buying stuff that's in a can and a package and a wrapper and aluminum and all that kind of stuff, you are putting the type of toxins and the heavy metals and all the stuff in your body that is going to cause your kidney some damage. So again, spend some time in the produce section, learning how to choose the right type of fruit and vegetables. And if you're going to eat meat, the right type of meat, the best meat, and then learn how to prepare it yourself. That's always more protective of your health. Okay. Eating processed foods, one, very difficult, right? So there you have not drinking enough water. They put it as 4. I put it as 1. So let's move on to the next one. They say missing out on sleep. And some people will probably say, well, how does missing out on sleep affect my kidneys? The body heals itself at night. While you are asleep, that's when the body does most of its healing. And so if you don't get sleep, when is the body going to heal the nephrons that were damaged? Because that's the potential, right? As this monumental book says, the longer periods of time in between your meals. So if you're eating 1 meal a day, or you're eating 1 meal every other day, or you're eating 1 meal every 3 days, your body has all that time in between meals, especially when you're asleep, to look at what needs to be taken care of, right? We're talking about the police alongside the highway looking. Okay, well, this person is asleep. The heart rate has gone down a little. The highway is not as fast because the blood flow slows down when the heart rate slows down. The body is in a rest phase. So some of the organs are in deep chill mode. So they're not asking for anything. Because when an organ like the kidney or the liver or the adrenal glands or the intestines or the brain or the muscles, when they call for nutrients, the body increases the heart rate because it's got to get stuff there. It would be like the police on that highway. Everybody's in a rush. Something going on like a hurricane this way and everybody's going their way trying to get away from it. So everybody's speeding, or something is going on that everybody's trying to get to and everybody's speeding, versus chill time. Cars just taking their time. Everybody taking their time and going slow. That's what happens when you sleep. So if there's less for the kidney to have to pay attention on what's rushing through it and it has to fix that and take out and what's going on, okay, it can slow down. If that slows down, and I can see, well, what happened to that nephron? Oh, that nephron had this problem. Okay, let's go fix that since it's a little slow. Sleep is extremely important to this body. And so people that on the grind, right? After that bag, so much that you don't take the time to rest, consequences are coming. Next, you see there, eating too much meat. I have, as of September 29, 2020, which is today, right? I honestly can't say that I know a vegetarian on dialysis unless they did something crazy. But I literally, as of I'm sitting right here, I cannot remember a dialysis patient that I've had that was a vegetarian. Meat is so difficult on the body. It's difficult to digest. It's difficult for the body to absorb. And once that large amount of protein is absorbed, it goes through the kidney, right? And those of you who have kidney problems, what's one of the first things they tell you once you have a kidney problem? You need to eat less meat. So why would doctors not tell their patients to eat less meat to keep yourself from having a kidney problem? That's what I'm telling you today. So if you're a 3-meal-a-day eater and you eat meat at every meal, the way that you can protect your kidney is stop eating meat at every meal. If you're the type of person that only eats 1 or 2 meals a day, you eat 1 meal a day, but you eat meat at every meal, start going a day without meat. Start going a few days without meat. Maybe check yourself every once in a while and say, hey, can I go the whole week without meat? That will be improving the ability of your kidneys to take care of themselves. And let me be very, very clear. I consider lamb, beef, chicken, turkey, and fish meat. All of those things are meat. Now, some of you might go out and you might eat crab and lobster, oysters, clams, mussels, all that kind of, that's meat too. Highly proteinaceous foods, when they come into the body, put a lot of proteins and amino acids into the bloodstream, and it's difficult on the body. So if you want to protect your kidneys, you should do like this man said and go towards being a vegetarian. It would be the best that you could do. Okay? I pray that I'm giving you all some news that you can use. Eating too many foods high in sugar. And let me be clear again, just like that salt shaker, this is referring to white processed bleached sugar, which is no good for any part of your body. The worst, not true, not the worst. The worst thing you can put in your body is what God says don't put in your body in all the holy books, and that would be the pig. But next to the pig and heavy meats, I think the next worst thing that you could put in your body is processed bleached food, white sugar, white salt, white flour, white rice. Shouldn't put those things in your body at all. Causes a lot of damage. It causes a lot of damage from the aspect of when it comes in the body and it goes into the body, into the organs, through the bloodstream, it causes damage. But the second aspect of the damage is that it is a worthless, nutrition-less food. And it's not a food. Let me take that back. It's a nutrition-less substance. So when it goes into the body, not only does it do damage, but there's no nutritional value with it. So now you can't even repair the damage. That's what's bad about white foods. And the reality behind white foods is racism. They made food white because they wanted the process of white being the aspect of pure. So that rice is pure when it's white. That flour is pure when it's white. That white bread, that white salt, that white sugar is pure because it's white. No, things that come from nature always have some color in it. So when you get back to the natural things like sea salt, you see colors in your salt. Sometimes you have to pick in your damn salt, but like, damn, what is that? Just part of nature. Sugar the same way. If you get some real natural sugar or you get some real honey, you see speckles and stuff in it sometimes. That's pure, the way God meant it for your body. So I hope that makes sense, the things that we need to do. And so here you say it says lighting up. They're talking about smoking. It is a known fact. Last time I did research in cigarettes, there can be anywhere from 40 to 60,000 different chemicals in a cigarette. And when you put that heat to it, you change some of those chemicals into sometimes worse. Sometimes the chemicals are burned and they're destroyed, but sometimes the chemicals cause more harm after the heat. And for the weed smokers and for the blunt smokers and the people that go in and getting Black and Milds and the Swisher Sweets, all that stuff you buy only in poor neighborhoods, that is the worst of tobacco. That is the worst of substances that you can put in your body. And so if a person winds up on dialysis and they're 50, would you even think that the cigarettes that you were smoking when you were 20 and a teenager would lead to your kidneys falling out one day? No, I mean, maybe not, because you didn't think about any of the other things on this list either. Because I would pretty much have to say that up until this point we're on now, which is number 8, some people probably do all these things, right? And so you are damaging your kidney majorly every day. And if your diet is like I just finished saying, you're damaging your kidney every day, but there's nothing that's happening in your body that's repairing them. So you as a 20-year-old or you as a 30-year-old, you may be able to look at your kidney, and sometimes 20 and 30-year-olds don't even go to the doctor, so you don't even know what your kidney function is. But you might be able to go to the doctor and they test your kidney and your creatinine is already at 2 or 3, meaning you already lost a percentage of your kidney function. You've already lost a couple 100,000 nephrons, dead, can't be used anymore. So when you get to the point where your kidneys stop functioning, you think it's because of what they just told you today. You think it happened because of that pill they put you on last year, or that medical problem you got diagnosed with 2 or 3 years ago, or just last year, the one that just started, you started having problems with this such and such a thing. And it started when you first started smoking. Something to think about. Never too late to change and start doing right. Because I told you, I'm giving hope in the beginning, right? Because even if you're 30, you've been smoking, drinking, acting crazy, eating the bad food, doing everything wrong, as we're talking about in here. Don't drink any water, don't know how to hydrate, and your kidneys are in bad shape right now. The fact that you are young, the faster you get to doing right, the faster your body will start to heal. Just the reality of life, okay? Next, drinking alcohol in excess. Why drinking alcohol in excess? Alcohol is not good for you, period. I don't give a damn what these people in the medical community say about drinking a little alcohol is good for you. Every time you drink alcohol, you kill liver cells and you kill brain cells. It's never the right thing to do. Some people say, well, in moderation, it's not that bad. Make the decision for yourself. I'm just telling you what I know as far as how it affects the body. But when you drink alcohol in excess, you stop a system in the brain called the antidiuretic hormone. Antidiuretic, anti means against, diuretic means urination hormone. There's a hormone in the body that acts in between the brain and the kidney to manage when you need to go to the bathroom versus when we need to hold on to some fluid. For what? To make sure the brain functions right, which has a lot of water around it, and the body functions right, which is 75% water. So when you drink alcohol, it shuts that system down. And that's why when people drink, they pee a lot. And then you wake up the next morning, you got a headache and a hangover. What's that? Toxicity from the alcohol and dehydration. So if you drink a lot, you're going to damage your kidneys. Sitting still. A lot of people don't think that that is a reality. But yes, this whole body functions better when it is moving. So get up off of the couch, the chair, if you sit all the time at work, and put some activity in your life. Stop waiting for the parking spot right next to the door of the grocery store or wherever the place you're going. Park as far away as you can. Turn your day into an activity thing. Those of you who don't like heat, it's starting to cool down, so it wouldn't be a bad idea, right? But even when it's hot, not a bad idea. So I pray that those 10 things make you think of anything. Let me see if there are any questions, and then we'll get into the last slide. Leroya says, nice teaching through food. Yes, ma'am. What's a good sugar? A good sugar, number one on my list would be honey, raw honey that has been has had no heat added to it. Number two, for me, would be raw sugar, unpasteurized cane sugar. So in the store, you can get turbinado or you can get raw cane sugar. Next for me would be probably molasses and Man, what's the other one? Dang, I can't think of it, but I'll try to think of it in a minute. But black molasses, blackstrap molasses that hasn't had a lot of heat, added just enough heat to get it out of, the plants that it comes from. And then those will be the main ones. I don't suggest brown sugar because most of that is white sugar with some molasses put on it. I don't suggest agave nectar. I don't suggest these highly processed sugars, stevia and all those type of things because of the processing that it takes for them to make them. So that would be my statement on the sugar. Alcohol is no good in any amount. That's right. I'm sorry. That was Lynn Ollie that said what's a good sugar. My bad. Thank you. Good question, sister. Okay, so let's get to our last slide, and then we're going to go ahead and bounce up out of here, you all, and you can have a wonderful rest of your day and week. I just wanted to quickly go through this because I thought this was pretty good to help people take some things in consideration as far as the type of medical problems that have an effect on your kidney. So, I already talked about chronic kidney disease and a lot of different things that can do that. As most of you know, one of the biggest threats that you can do to your kidneys is to develop diabetes. Diabetes is a horrible disease. Most people don't know how to take care of it correctly because they follow the mainstream medical community, which has hardly any success rate with helping people with diabetes. But as this monumental book and this amazing man said, you can solve diabetes without medication. So if you learn how to do the right things, not only will you keep your kidneys from getting bad by improving your diabetes, but your sugars and having to run after them and all the medications that also add to kidney problems, you won't ever have to deal with. Okay. So again, I've done a show on diabetes. Go check that out if you need more information or reach out to me. Next, they talk about anorexia nervosa, which of course is a problem when people eat, very small amounts of food because their image of themselves is always fat. And then of course you got the bulimics that they eat and then make themselves throw up. That can cause malnutrition, which causes kidney problems. Blood pressure. That's one of the major causes in Black people, right? The most common problems in Black people is diabetes, high blood pressure. But then if you add, like I said a little while ago, that a lot of these people also smoke. They also drink every weekend or drink every day, eat a lot of meat. You're destroying your kidneys every day with that type of a lifestyle. High blood pressure and diabetes is just information. It's your body talking to you saying, hey, I can't keep living like this. You're not taking care of me well. I can't handle this. I can't handle this. I can't handle this. And we just keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. Then go to a doctor, get a pill, thinking that everything is going to be okay now because you're taking a pill. So we do activity that doesn't make sense, thinking that a pill is going to solve that problem. No, changing your activity is going to save that problem. Okay. So high blood pressure, diabetes, two of the most common in the Black community, brown community, of causing severe problems with our kidneys. High cholesterol, for the same reason it causes a problem to the heart. You can literally clog your arteries and not get enough blood flow to the kidneys. Cause dehydration. They start to decrease in their functioning. Okay. What we got next? Lupus, a common so-called autoimmune disorder in mostly Black women. So the damage that your immune system is doing, try to get these toxins and poisons out of your body, they'll attack and cause collateral damage. If it happens in the kidney, you lose nephrons. And so you start to have kidney function problem, right? Multiple myeloma, that's a cancer of how we produce our blood cells. And sometimes those cells can be made so abnormal when they go through some of the organs, they cause damage. So that's what that would do to the kidney, is cause some damage because of the size of some of those molecules. Hemolytic uremic syndrome, that's something that happens mostly in children. That's not necessarily common. So we don't need to spend a lot of time on that. What we got here? That's another vasculitis is another type of autoimmune disorder. So, of course, the blood vessels that are in the kidney and send blood to the kidney, if they get attacked, then you're going to have some problems keeping the blood flow going to those kidneys. I think I've covered most of the main ones that affect most of us. I just wanted to mention this as the last one. So if a man has a prostate problem and you're having a difficult time urinating, or, any type of potential physical problem that could cause problems with the urine going through the tubules that they do to go to the bladder and then urinating out, any of that can send urine or stop urine from being pushed down, and you can cause problems with your kidneys. So sometimes that can be cancer, prostate problems, other problems, kidney stones, things of that nature. And so most of that is due to, bad lifestyle problems as well. So I think the point is made, brothers and sisters. I pray that you, again, have gotten some news that you can use. I pray that you've learned something today about your kidneys, and that you can move out starting tomorrow or this evening and do something to improve your kidney, so that we can stop filling up these dialysis centers all around the country and the world that are making so much money off of mostly us, because we continue to do bad habits. Mini MUI says, can drinking more than 1 cup of boiled raw milk cause excessive urination? No, I don't think it will cause excessive urination. No. You might have to reach out to me and let me know specifically what you're saying. But no, I wouldn't think that drinking more than 1 cup of raw milk will cause excessive urination. Most of milk is water, so it's going to cause some urination, but excessive, I wouldn't say that. So again, let me finish with this. As I've said before, I have some. What happened? Different one. I still have my young soldiers who are doing their bean soup business. The Ultimate Wellness Group, Navy Bean Soup Brigade. They are still producing bean soup, and they are shipping it to people all over the country. Why am I mentioning that? Because some of you who have kidney problems, some of you that eat a lot of meat, probably could replace your meat with beans, and that wouldn't be hard on your kidney. That would be healing to your kidney. So I wanted to end the program with that, just sharing their information so that you all could see these two beautiful nieces of mine that are doing a wonderful job by setting up a business so that they could help people. That's their intent, and that's what they like to do. And there's their information. Down at the bottom, Najee Muhammad, 832-863-8934, and Aaliyah Muhammad, 713-557-7785. They can produce that bean soup, and everybody that has gotten it to date says they love it. It's good, reasonable. Prices are absolutely worth it, and it will give you the type of health that you need. It's one of the foods that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad suggests that we eat. And in my research, it's one of the best things you can put in your body. So again, anybody that's a meat eater, anybody that has chronic kidney disease, anybody that's on dialysis, don't beat yourself up. Don't jump to any major change. Oh, I'm going to just do something drastic. Start evaluating what you do by looking at what you eat every day. And then either yourself, or if you need my help, let's start looking at where we start making some changes. I know if you're on dialysis, they put you on very strict eating habits, but don't worry about that. That's my specialty. So if you come to me and you're on dialysis, I'm going to look at what you're eating. I'm going to make those adjustments for you to start to get some healing and see what can happen. But, work on it and trust in the fact that when you get new information and you have a plan and you work it, you're going to get the blessing of God just because you put your effort towards it. Okay. So I pray again that you all got some news that you use today. Again, I've been having a lot of technical difficulties. That's why I'm not on the Ultimate Wellness Group Facebook page today. So please, everybody that's listening, please share the show. Tell a few people about the fact that I'm having some difficulties so I can, still connect with people and give them this information as I work on getting these problems solved and getting back to the standard of the way I believe I'm supposed to do things. Okay. So thank you all for coming, spending some of your Tuesday. Understand, in a society like we live in, it takes a lot of work to have good health, especially during a pandemic, during a plague. So continue to work hard on your health by doing something every day, adding something to your repertoire as often as you can to take you in the right direction. And so I pray that you all have a wonderful rest of your day, rest of your week. And I look forward to seeing all of you next week for the Medical Apartheid Ultimate Wellness Group discussion. All right. Y'all have a wonderful rest of your day. Peace.